Today on the topic show, Disney introduces a they-them non-binary character into the Star Wars cartoon. Vivek on people opposing voter IDs. Biden and Mark Hamill celebrate Star Wars May 4th, but get roasted most of the week. Kamala Harris' response to Hamas ceasefire is shrimp and grits. Appointment skippers are getting charged more. Student loan paid off by Biden goes viral on Twitter. Toyota increases research and development into hydrogen with a new remote headquarters. Sam Ash music stores closing, and Planters Peanuts are issuing a recall. All of that and much more on The Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day because he's quite handsome and brilliant. Peace, me, you see, that's a joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Toyota to increase hydrogen research and development at a new U.S. headquarters. Well, some might say it's U.S., some might say it's another country. It's in a place known as California, which some people know as California. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Michelle Lewis at Electrek, and they note, quote, Toyota goes large on hydrogen with new U.S. headquarters. Now, they note that they're turning its research and development office in Los Angeles into its North America hydrogen headquarters, to specifically put research and development into that technology. President and CEO of Toyota North America, Ted Guana, says, quote, renaming this facility as North America Hydrogen Headquarters represents our leadership in fuel cell development, creating real-world products, and reducing carbon emissions, unquote. They note that the Los Angeles Research and Development Center played a large part in launching its light-duty cell vehicle in Mirai in 2015. It hosts Toyota's largest demand at 2.1 megawatts, has a scalable test bench for stationary applications, and already has a hydrogen fueling station for light and heavy-duty trucks. They note that Toyota is building a microgrid at H2 HQ that will allow to operate completely off-grid. The microgrid includes 250 kilowatts of solar and 1 megawatt of stationary proton exchange membrane fuel cell generator, and 325 kilowatts solid oxidized fuel cell, and 500 kilowatt hours battery cell storage. The system is expected to be online by 2026. Now, granted, when it comes to future technologies for actual, better for the environment and perhaps long-term being viable, I do think hydrogen is infinitely more effective than electric. The big bottleneck when it comes to hydrogen adaptation and technology is how do you efficiently and profitably actually refine hydrogen and distribute hydrogen. That's what made Nikola, which at the time was a startup a couple years ago, that's why that company was at one time worth more than GM and all these other companies, was because they claimed, granted their founder Trevor turned out to be a snake oil salesman, but the company known as Nikola claimed that they had a new magical secret sauce technology that would enable them to basically manufacture hydrogen for next to nothing and transport it, and that was their big claim to fame. Turned out to be vaporware and didn't work at all. Now, in terms of hydrogen working, we've had prototype hydrogen cars for decades. I mean, I read Driven, which is a book about BMW and the history of the company, and at the end of the book, and it was written about the year 2000, they were talking about experimenting with hydrogen-based BMW vehicles. I mean, we've had them for decades, and granted, they work. Toyota even has a racing vehicle that runs on hydrogen. It works great. But that being said, in terms of the mass adaptation and will it actually work practically in the real world, that's the big bottleneck. So it makes sense that these companies are continuing to put research and development into it, and it's great that they're making it, perfecting it for their own vehicle and singular use applications in terms of, it will work in this vehicle. That's great, and they're making it more efficient. But really, how do we actually process it, refine it, distribute it, manufacture? How do we really get to the point of getting that fuel to be, really scale it to be viable? That I think will be the big thing that once conquered that challenge, that will be something that will make, hydrogen-based vehicles more of a mass adaptation. Right now, I mean, look at the biggest growing category in automotive, it's not hydrogen, but it's hybrid. EV sales are plummeting off a cliff, and less people are buying those luxury toys. But let me know in the comments, do you think hydrogen will really be the future in terms of automobile technology? Do you think we'll just go back to using gasoline, which is reliable, and those vehicles last about 100 years, which I would argue is better for the environment than a disposable EV? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news, you have Sam Ash music stores. Well, unfortunately, they are closing. This is brought to us thanks to LinkedIn News, specifically Andrew Murfett. They note that, quote, Sam Ash, the venerable music store noted for its deep selection of guitars, keyboards, drums, and other instruments, will permanently shutter all 42 remaining stores for good in July 2024. The family-owned chain began in Brooklyn more than 100 years ago. Quote, the store was a staple for countless beginners and working musicians, but struggled to stand its ground against online rivals. Sam Ash, also known as an employment staple for working musicians, has stores in 11 states and has already begun to close a handful of the stores. So it's quite sad. I remember going there as a kid and they'd have a cool assortment of knickknacks at Sam Ash. And I don't think we should be too surprised. I mean, you're seeing big consumer shifts in terms of, musical instruments alone. That category has been decreasing steadily throughout the past couple of decades. Because one of the reasons the Guitar Center, I believe they went bankrupt and they come back partially because of the pandemic. But a lot of these big staples when it comes to music creating as well as music, consumption in terms of buying CDs and vinyls, they're not able to withstand the current consumer demand or lack thereof. It's quite sad to see a staple, family-owned business after 100 years shutting its doors. Given the market trends, I don't suspect someone else will buy them out in terms of making another brick and mortar. I could see perhaps someone jumping in and saying that they want to buy the intellectual property in the brand and then launch something that is 100% e-commerce. But it's just one of those things where the overwhelming convenience of online shopping just is exponentially more. And with the exception of a couple of controlled substances or things that you absolutely need to be face-to-face, such as in many cases, usually regulation, you have pharmaceuticals, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and, most of the fun things people like. Those are usually that warranted retail brick and mortar because they are currently legally required to in many cases. When it comes to a lot of these things that aren't regulated substances or regulated devices, in those cases, you even have less of a compelling reason to go there. But I suppose, maybe I'll just always think back fondly of the store, going to hang out there, playing with a couple of instruments, hoping that one day I'd save pinch my pennies to be able to get one. Let me know, when you were growing up, do you ever go over to Sam Ash? Is that a big staple of your childhood? As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now going over to the culture part of the podcast, you have Disney featuring a non-binary Star Wars character, and again, it's a Star Wars kids cartoon. The grammar teachers are irate, to say the least. Well, not public school grammar teachers, they are applauding this mostly, but the private school grammar teachers, they are surely irate and worried about all the confused kids. Confused in many ways. Now, this was first brought to us thanks to Libs of TikTok, in which she said, quote, new Star Wars show on Disney Plus, Tales of the Empire, features a non-binary character that uses they, them pronouns. Parents, make sure you know what your kids are watching. They're after your kids, unquote. And without further ado, we'll watch this character. Spoiler alert, they die. It's not really graphic, it's just a cartoon. But they, them, it, he dies. Probably he? Let me know what you think.
I'm so tired.
It's good because they have the blue lightsaber.
I feel so alone. Then come with me.
How weak is that? The main protagonist is just tired? Perhaps they're trying to relate to the youth. We're just putting a modicum of effort for some, not all. It makes them too tired to fight? What? This is when, back in the day, men of grit would, dig deep down and get that final punch, that final, shot with a 1911 to conquer the bad guy. And in this case, the main supposed hero of the show is saying, I'm tired. Which, pathetic to say the least. Have a coffee, a Red Bull, or just dig deep. Be a man. But I partially digress.
It's finished.
What was that? I gotta rewind that. That was pathetic. So they're tired and they get backstabbed by the bad guy. Place your bets, folks. Do you think that's a man or a woman? Now, granted, in terms of the, Disney's claiming it's a they, them, there. I would never, heaven forbid, go against YouTube's terms and conditions and lose all two people who are viewing the past couple of videos. Statistically speaking, there's no way only two people are seeing this unless they throttle the channel or blacklist it, shadow ban. I forget what the term is, but given the number of subscribers I have, statistically speaking, more than one or two people should see a video a day. Again, I'm not a mathematician wizard by any means, but I think the odds are in my favor.
finished.
It's finished?
They're still alive.
They're still alive.
We need to get them to the
Now, if
ship.
you're just tuning in, this is looks like a Power Ranger character is leaning over the individual person saying they are still alive.
Alive.
Wait.
They're still alive. We need to
Again, remember kids, when it comes to grammar, that's there means multiple people. In this case, it would be, again, I'm not sure if it's he or she, but he is still alive. Or she. Kind of looks like Brittany Griner now that I think about it. Which?
get them to the ship. We can save them.
Forget it. Let them
We
die.
can save them. Let
It's
them
not worth
die.
the trouble.
I know it's a bad guy. Not worth the trouble.
They were about to surrender.
Irrelevant. The Jedi are a threat to be eradicated wherever they are found.
I'm so tired.
I'm so tired. Maybe it is Brittany Griner. Is he getting royalties from this? Or it? She? So yeah, yet another reason to not watch Disney. What's the moral? What's the lesson learned here? What's the moral of the story? Give up. The person you're supposed to be admiring says, "I'm tired," gives up as if to surrender, and bites the dust. Now, perhaps I'm alone with this critique. Maybe everyone is saying, "No, Disney, this is a great representation. I mean, this is a great thing to show kids." I mean, probably not, but let's dive into the comments and find out. Well, the first comments comes from, well, I was going to say me, but no one liked it. Well, 10 people did view my comment, in which I said, you know, how long until Disney changes the wording of their previous films? It's the good old "I'm your father, Luke." Now, Gunther Eagleman says, quote, Disney is the company of pedos, getting 1,000 likes. What is it? Young American Foundation has a picture of a young boy pouring wine into someone who's being tortured, I think. Instead of being waterboarded, they're being poured wine. And the wine glass is labeled the trans pride flag, and the little boy is Disney Plus, and the person getting wine boarded is labeled as kids. They got 50 likes. Let's see. LGB says, quote, this is driving me crazy. Non-binary does not exist. It just screams narcissism. They got 787 likes. Let's see. Same Energy says, quote, what trans people look like, what they actually look like. They got 199 likes. The Red Wave Press says, quote, Star Wars has now fallen victim to the left's woke garbage. I love Star Wars, but I won't be watching now. Quote, getting 351 likes. Chad Dudley says, and it looks like they're quoting the bad guys. Quote, let's see. Quote, we might be elite evil Jedi hunters for the Galactic Empire, but we respect pronouns. Judge trans flag. Certainly some androgynous looking bad guys. Weird looking lightsabers. They got a circular disc with then 2 sabers. Weird. They got 178 likes though. Washington Ghost says, quote, it's wild to watch them destroy that franchise, getting 430 likes. And you have CMM, corporate mainstream media, saying, quote, corrupt mainstream media. How do they even know this person's pronouns? Did they ask before killing that person? And as a girl on the back of a bike, and it's woke culture with butt crack. She's behind the adult, and it says trying to watch a movie in peace. Getting 191 likes. Let's see. One Bad Dude simply says Disney is wicked, getting 90 likes. Platinum Memes responds in meme form, A+ for marketing. They usually a 50-50 shot in terms of them just responding in just simple text. Now they say woke Disney strikes again. It's the Disney logo, and they added the word woke in front of it. And that did get 50 likes. Let's see here. Jeremiah, the conservative, says Disney completely tanked Star Wars, getting 17 likes. What is this? Nomad Griper says, why don't you talk about the people pushing this stuff? Chea, who's the founder of, Lives for TikTok. And it has a org chart, apparently, of people who work at Disney who are Jewish. That got 318 likes. Much too old to feel this damn young says, quote, anyone who hasn't already canceled Disney Plus is supporting this, unquote. Getting 74 likes. See here. Has to be some contrarian statements here. Well, apparently not. Because again, there is an audience for this stuff. I don't think it's a majority of the audience in the United States. I don't even necessarily think there's enough of those people to actually support a business at this point. Maybe someday. What's this person say? Bilbo Baggins. And it's the iconic scene from Indiana Jones where Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, is contemplating stealing the golden idol. And Harrison Ford is relabeled as Disney. And the golden idol is relabeled as a well-established franchise. And instead of replacing it with a bag of sand, the bag of sand is now labeled gay crap. And he's switching it for the idol. Getting 63 likes. Here. If there's anything more. Maybe hundreds. Now we're getting to like the 3 to 4 likes. Cash Lauren simply says, "Oh, Disney is going Star Wars, getting 10 likes." It looks like overwhelming support of Lips of TikTok with this assessment. And yeah, it's not just. Let's see here. Do one more. This one's a popular one. Brad Miller has a picture of. What is this? Trans and non-binary people. Very unique, colorful hairstyles. And they say, quote, "You won't let us choose our bathrooms because y'all bigots." And then you have the trad wife and trad husband saying, "We won't let you choose your bathrooms because you're all predators and perverts." Getting, unquote, getting 51 likes. So let me know in the comments, do you think there's a big enough audience or prospective client list to support the new initiatives at Disney? Well, not new initiatives, the continuing initiatives at Disney. Again, there is a market for that, mostly in San Francisco, but there are people out there, maybe even a couple million Americans who do support that. Again, Disney used to go after the 100% market share, trying to gain every single customer, which again, traditionally that'd be, having morals and values in your stuff and not alienating people with, sexual identity and, inserting sexual themes of children stuff. But they are changing. And Disney, they're losing a lot of money. Now, thankfully, not thankfully for them, thankfully, they're making a profit because of the parks. They're offsetting the losses from the media division of the company. I don't know how much longer they can actually, keep that up. Let me know. Do you think that Disney will actually turn the ship around? I mean, we hear articles about, Disney's, they're stopping some content. They're shelving some projects that were considered woke. And Bob claims he wants to get out of politics. He claims he wants to be not controversial. That being said, I think the talent pool of Disney is completely so one-sided. I don't think it's possible. But let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have appointment skippers getting charged more and trending. Now, interestingly enough, this is brought to us thanks to LinkedIn News, specifically Bobby Armstrong. And they say, quote, "Ever made an appointment that and then blow it off? Well, then be prepared to start shelling out for your misconduct." Again, that's actually also according to the Wall Street Journal. They say, quote, what once was a common practice primarily to doctors, dentists, and restaurants has become favored by salons, personal trainers, to name a few. Thanks to technology that collects payment info up front and facilities tracking no-shows, business owners are fighting back. One Southern California barber penalizes flaky clients as much as $100, saying, quote, "We're not supercuts where I have to worry about your corporate feelings," unquote. And there's a lot of, I say 50-50 split on LinkedIn in terms of the kind of the blowback or the support versus the opposition. And yeah, personally, yeah, you should absolutely be charged for this. I mean, it blows my mind, the cultural decline of America. Well, usually on a daily basis, it's not a good thing. But there are a lot of people who will make an appointment and just not show up, whereby you're not just inconveniencing that business owner, but also their whole staff. You're quite literally robbing them, in my opinion, you're almost robbing them of resource allocation, and you're actually costing them money. It makes total sense. And again, we have such a society that advocates for responsibility. We could use a little bit of, some might call it, punishment. Some might say it's just forcing you to, incentivizing you to man up and, be a man of your word, which is disappointing how few of those are left these days, which is why when I find someone who is actually a man of their word, or someone who's a person of has grit or value, I try to, stay in contact with them. But it's one of those instances where we live in a society where people just leave their carts everywhere at the Walmart parking lot, which is the telltale sign of complete societal collapse. You don't have the energy or you don't have the actual discipline to return a cart. I can't help but think you should be banned from shopping altogether. Now, again, going back to the appointment case, let's say you make an appointment for a local, let's say, yeah, any local business, local restaurant, local eyeglass company, local salon, whatever the industry is, they're reserving that time for you. If you don't show up, not only, I mean, that's a huge lost opportunity cost. That time slot could have been filled with a paid customer, and unless the staff are on commission only, that business owner still has to pay the whole staff for their time just to stand there and wait around. So we'll see if this starts to trend on X Twitter, if there's like a big boycott of this trend. But unlike the tipping trend, which that's gone way out of hand, and then time limits is way up. When it comes to actually having a fine for being late and being a no-show, oh yeah, I absolutely think that people should be charged for that. I mean, we need to get back to the good old days where, a man is as good as his word. Be there with bells on, get there early. A wise man once said to me, if you're on time, you're 10 minutes late. And as I clumsily tried to recall a quote from Suits, I believe he said once, "You're here at 7:15, which means you're 7:15." He says you're required to be here by 7, which means you're a half hour late. Something to that effect. And if you really care about something in life, you're going to show up early. Partially because there are variables that we can't control. Maybe there is an accident on the way to work. That's why you wake up even earlier. And again, being early costs you barely anything. Many would say being early costs you nothing. But being late could cost you everything. Something to think about. Let me know, do you think this is going to be a backlash and people just refuse to shop at certain venues or stores because of this new policy that's growing in rapid popularity? Or think this will actually force people to show up on time, or heaven forbid, even a couple minutes early, so they can be respectful of everyone's time? As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have a student loan being paid off by Biden going viral on X Twitter. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, here, in which he simply says, quote, "Are you kidding me? Thank you, Biden. We paid for that election bribe, the U.S. taxpayers against our will." Is a screenshot of someone by the name of Benjamin Shirless saying, quote, "Holy effing shit, $19,408.49 gone. I'm beside myself. Thank you, Joe Robinette Biden." Which, yeah, fact check that. Is that really his middle name? No, Robinette. Joe Biden, middle name. I mean, I don't want to say that's a weak name, but it really is. Robinette. Jeez, that's ridiculous. Robinette, really? That's almost comical. Well, it is. Sounds as ridiculous as being called a topping. Oh, wait. I partially digress, but nevertheless. I mean, this went really viral. I mean, this is actually after the news we had earlier this month where, the U.S. government decided to pay, what was it, $6.1 billion in student loans because the art degrees, they just paid it off. Again, there's zero reason to have a loan for an art degree. There's nothing stopping you from going to most museums that are free or just buying a book for usually a pretty good ROI. You don't need to go to college for art majors. It's the most useless degree I could possibly. Shouldn't say that. There's so many useless degrees, it'd be hard to say which one is most useless. Lesbian dance is definitely up there. But yeah, imagine our tax dollars paid for the $9,408.49. Now, in terms of moves on the political chessboard, bribery works. I mean, Americans love free crap. And if someone pays off your student loans, pretty big incentive for you to vote for them. It'll be interesting to see if Biden starts to ramp up the rhetoric during this election cycle, talking about how everyone should have their student loans paid off. Even though the Supreme Court said, it's unconstitutional, they kind of just do what they want in D.C. these days. Now, this one, extraordinarily valid, got 2 million views and 31,000 likes, which is quite a few to say the least. One of the first responses come from Paul Zupa saying, quote, "Buying votes like this is unconstitutional. Supreme Court already ruled that Joe Biden can't cancel student loans. Why isn't the GOP in Congress outraged by this? Because they're part of the problem." Unquote. Getting 1.1 thousand likes, which, there are a lot of rhinos, pejoratively known as Republicans in name only, because they just vote Democrat. Though they have an R by their name, so people will foolishly vote for them without actually researching their policies or actually their track record. Maria Isbell says, quote, "It's not forgiven, but taxpayer funded." And it's a picture of some girls going to see Taylor Swift. Apparently, it says Taylor Swift ticket $500, new outfit $500, iPhone 15 $1,500, can't pay back student loans, priceless. Getting 3,000 likes. Salty Goat also says, quote, it took years to pay off my student loans after working full time while in college. This pisses me off to no end. Getting 5.4 thousand likes, which, yes, it's definitely not fair. Thick shelled egg, unusual name to say the least, says, quote, using your tax money to pay for votes. It says Steve paid his way through trade school and is now gainfully employed. As a picture of a kid with a degree, it says Austin borrowed $100K to get a philosophy degree and can't get a job. And the confused Biden, it has a picture of a confused Biden. It says Joe Biden wants Steve to pay back Austin loans. Getting 3.7 thousand likes, which, yes, it's true. The people with degrees that are worth anything usually don't need to have their loans paid off by other people. People with engineering degrees are doing pretty darn good most of the time. Same with doctors, same with lawyers. Now that meme to get 3.7 thousand likes. Let's see. Maria Isabel says also, it's essentially a taxpayer-funded bribe. They'll do anything to secure the vote, won't they? And some protesters that say Death America, and it says student loan forgiveness, and vote. Joe Biden is pointing to this saying, quote, I need their vote to save democracy. The donkey with the Democrat logo is giving a thumbs up, getting 966 likes. Paula says, quote, no, I paid off your debt you promised to pay back, getting 957 likes. Florida says, quote, didn't the Supreme Court say this isn't allowed? Let's see Trump follows all the laws and gets indicted left and right. Biden has a suitcase full of documents showing his corruption, ignores the Supreme Court and justice, could care less, getting 1,000 likes. The Regret Media TM says, quote, what is this? Yep, pandering is endless, and it's Joe Biden standing in front of his speech. It says Resident Joe Biden canceling student debt, pander in chief, getting 285 likes. Let's see here. Maria Isbell also says, quote, the fact that an 18-year-old can't take out a $10,000 business loan but can take out a $100,000 student loan tells you everything you need to know. The current system doesn't want you to be independent and successful. It wants you to be reliant and obedient, getting 1.1 thousand likes. Oh, I was going to hopefully be the extra vote that got to 1.2 thousand, but nevertheless, my vote was not the final one to get it over that hump, so to say. Rare Imagery says, quote, blatant vote buying that was already ruled against by the Supreme Court. Our government is nothing but criminals, getting 943 likes. Let's see here. So, I mean, I'm pretty much overwhelming support for the roasting of this paying off by student loans. And it'll be interesting to see, is there enough cultural pushback where people start to vote differently? Maybe start to take responsibility? Do you think this will bleed into being, a big thing that people start to talk about in terms of the politics around the cooler? Let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part podcast, you have Vivek and Charlie Kirk on people opposing voter IDs. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Vivek's personal X-Twitter profile, in which he says, quote, the same people who in favor of, grammar be damned, I'll read how he said it, or how he wrote it, typed it, nevertheless. The same people in favor of a open, wide southern border are the same people who oppose voter ID requirements. That's not a coincidence, it's an electoral strategy. And I suppose that is actually perfectly written, just my speaking ineptitude is creeping up, which is a friendly reminder to click that subscribe button. When I first started the show, believe it or not, I spoke even faster, had more of a monotone voice, and yes, I did stutter quite a bit. However, thanks to increase in subscriber count, I've been able to not excel greatly, but had a little bit of an improvement in my speaking abilities. Some might argue it's just a modicum improvement, just barely a little at all, but I would argue it's still a little improvement, and each day does get better, hopefully. So again, if you can click that subscribe button on YouTube, especially if you do it on Rumble, not to brag, but I had a 10% increase in my number of subscribers on Rumble. That being said, I'm still only up to 10 or 11, but still, statistically speaking, it sounds cool. But again, it's another good lesson. Remember, when it comes to statistics, always ask what is the sample size. Now, again, Charlie and Vivek sound infinitely better than me, so I'll go ahead without too much further ado. Go ahead and pull them up really quick here.
There's a new story out of the Washington Post that shows that Joe Biden is meeting with the president of Mexico to effectively bribe Mexico to slow down the invasion until after the election. Vivek, your reaction?
Well, look, I think it makes total sense, Charlie. It's about incentives. Forget conspiracy theories, just talk about the alignment of incentives here. The very people who are in favor of effectively open border policies at the southern border are also the very people who are also opposed to voter ID requirements, to lowering the requirements to vote. That's not an accident. It's an electoral strategy. And if you look back to 2012, 2013, prominent Democrats were arguing this in academic essays in Politico magazine. The likes of Biden, even Mayorkas, Stacey Abrams, and others have said this is part of their lasting electoral majorities. Now you put a label on that, you call it the Great Replacement Theory, and it gets labeled a conspiracy theory. The reality is it's just plain incentives hiding in plain sight. They want to import long-run voters and stop the export of people who would have otherwise voted for them as well. That's why they're against the deportations. It's why they're favoring the mass migration. And we got to see through it to solve the problem.
Yep.
There's a new story out of the Washington Post.
Again, some might say it's a bug, some say it's a feature. I don't know why the video keeps just constantly repeating at the end of it. But nevertheless, it's got about 200,000 views and 11,000 likes. Some of the top comments comes from Paul Zupa saying, quote, Democrats cheat at elections. It's an objective fact. They know we know, so they don't even care hiding it. Remember, the invasion of illegals is welcomed by Joe Biden for consensus reasons also. California and New York are losing huge numbers. That means less congressional seats, which, yes, as a kid, I used to think that was a conspiracy theory. But yeah, as soon as I did a little bit of research on how the government works, public school definitely didn't teach me that. Well, yes, the more your population is, the more congressional seats you get. Now, the BS part is that includes illegal aliens. It's not just U.S. citizens. So it's quite literally a huge incentive mechanism to have your state absorb as many illegal immigrants as possible, because you'll get more representatives sent over. Now, again, Mr. Paul Zupa did get 45 likes. The conservative alternative says, quote, this meme was made for this moment. Looks like Tommy Lee Jones reading a newspaper retiredly and says, the people against voter ID wanted you to show vaccine papers, getting 22 likes. See, scrolling down more and more. You have one bad same guy? No, okay. One bad dude saying, quote, they hate America, and Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying, quote, when your political agenda is more important than the people you represent, you have become a danger to the nation. This is today's Democratic Party. Unquote, getting 20 likes. See here. USMC Lady Vet says, quote, the same people in favor of open borders don't put these people in their own homes. They take no responsibility for them. They expect all of us to do it. Unquote, getting 16 likes. See here. Brad Miller says, quote, Biden knows it's the only way he has a chance in November. And it's Biden at the border greeting illegal aliens. And he says, quote, welcome, don't forget to vote Democrat, unquote, getting 4 likes. Now, it's pretty unrealistic of a cartoon because no one is actually holding Biden's hand and helping him stand up straight, though. See here. Those are most of the top comments. And again, we'll see if there's any actual political ramifications, if people actually start to vote differently, if they're actually affected. Because again, with the current methodology, as a sports analogist might say, I mean, Democrats are going to have a lock-in for decades. And that's if we go on the assumption that people are coming here and getting illegally and getting a lot of incentives from the government, will continue to vote for government that'll give them massive incentives, which I would think is quite apt and logical. But let me know in the comments. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Joe Biden and Mark Hamill wishing everyone a happy 4th and getting ratioed most of the week. Now, granted, this, of course, did happen on May 4th, which, as Star Trek nerds will say, is may live long and prosper, may the Force be with May. Kidding, I know it's a Star Wars thing. So, may the Force be with you, is it also become a pun known, or a wordplay, as may the 4th be with you. Also known as May 4th. Now, this is thanks to the president's ex-Twitter profile, and he says, quote, we had a very good feeling about this. May the 4th be with you, America. And I'm actually surprised. Well, at least he's suited up. Biden did something, right? It's only about 10 seconds long, and I normally say their voices are infinitely better than mine. In this case, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but probably not. There's Biden in the White House. looking alive. And he says, let's see here. Oh, voice or the sound here.
May the fourth be with you. Always.
That's the creepiest looking Mark Hamill ever. He had one good movie, his Corvette Summer.
With you.
So Mark Hamill, like a creep, he just bumps if you're just listening. So this camera starts with just looking at Biden, and creepily sliding out of nowhere is Mark Hamill just coming to the side of the camera, looking as deranged and disgusting as ever.
Always.
Now, this is Mark Hamill, who, again, I don't think he was inebriated by drinking Bud Light. He publicly said that Joe Biden is the best president ever, of all time. I know tyrants and people with little intellect barely read history books, sometimes never. Perhaps that's why Mark said such a bizarre thing, because even my friends who vote Democrat, and a couple of them do like Biden, I don't think anyone would say he's the best of all time. I mean, you usually traditionally reserve that to the founding fathers, unless you hate our country, which Mark Hamill, well, maybe that's why. Now, this went viral. I mean, 8.3 million people saw this, and 87,000 people liked it. That's 87,000 people. That's a lot of people. I mean, not as good as 80 plus million votes, but again, 8.3 million people saw this, and 87,000 people liked it. And there are Star Wars nerds that love it. And again, in terms of moves on the political chessboard, good move by Biden. People worship Star Wars like it's a freaking religion. And they'll probably vote for Biden just because their hero, Mark Hamill, says Biden is the best. Now, I don't know how small the intellect is for someone to actually vote for someone because a celebrity endorsed them. I think that's ridiculous. Again, if you can tell me three specific policies that you appreciate about a certain politician, I can at least respect your opinion, even if I don't agree with it necessarily. Again, one of the first responses is a persistent saying, quote, "A vote for Biden is a vote for war." And they said, "May the fourth be with you." And instead of Star Wars, it says "Start Wars." An apt metaphor, because remember when Trump was in charge and there was no new wars? Ironically, all the things that we were warned about would happen under Trump are happening now. And yeah, basically World War III right now. Great. And that got 2,000 likes. Scrolling down, Peace Mill says, quote, "Fact check," and is Don Draper drinking whiskey and says, "Biden doesn't need a cognitive test, his voters do." They got 2.3 thousand likes. Here, this is probably one of the, oh, this is good. So, Libercat Media TM says, quote, "Two losers," and it's the Star Wars, it's been photoshopped. So, it says 2016 Star Wars A New Hope, and it's Trump with Luke Skywalker hair. It says 2020 The Empire Strikes Back, and it's Biden as Lord Vader. And it's 2024 Return of the MAGA, and it's Trump with his hair and the iconic green lightsaber. That got 2.2 thousand likes. Just, again, quite a few to say the least. Andrew Tate says, quote, I told you Start Wars was for losers 5 years ago. Tate is always right, unquote. Grammar be damned, that got 15,000 likes. Finally, we have a contrarian. Because again, there are millions of people who do love Mark Hamill and do love Biden. Usually don't see them in public, but we do see this one. So, a girl by the name of Joe, who describes herself as Mom, Jersey, Dem, News Junkie, Lebanese, Hothead views are my own? What the heck is, and, oh, I was going to say in terms of, she is someone who is followed by Mark Hamill. All right. And Biden wins. She's from New Jersey. I don't say she's 100% corrupt, but statistically speaking, high probability. Now, she says, quote, "This is effing epic. May the fourth be with you always. This is the best." She says, and again, maybe she's drinking Bud Light, maybe she's drinking vodka or something. She says, quote, "This is the best superhero duo in the history of time," unquote. Again, 2.5 thousand people like that statement. I don't know anyone on the planet who, I mean, calling Mark Hamill the best superhero duo in the history of time, that's one of the most mentally vacuous things I've heard all calendar year. And that's saying something, because I review the news daily, which, again, the best superhero duo in the history of time. Not the, not General Patton, not Abraham Lincoln. I mean, none of these greatest men in history. No. The greatest superheroes that she knows of are Mark Hamill and Joe Biden, which I guess they're both known for driving Corvettes. Well, though these days someone else probably drives it for them. Now, JD Sharp says, quote, "This video of you crapping your pants this morning." There's a lot of people speculating he's making the same facial gestures and body language of relieving himself standing up. That got 577 likes. Tim Young says, quote, "A dementia patient and a homeless drunk," getting 6.1 thousand likes. Tim Mack says pure truth, and it says Trump hate was created by the media, Biden hate is legitimate by the many people. Got 1.9 thousand likes from that graphic from Turning Point USA. Libercat Media TM says, quote, "Two clowns." This picture of Mark Hamill with a t-shirt that says "Gay for Biden," unquote, getting 1.5 thousand likes. Which, is he? Is Mark Hamill gay? I mean, he looks Mark. He likes Biden. Mark Hamill. Hamill. Good the internet says. Let's see. Mark Hamill. He has a wife and kids? Really? Wait, is he married to a woman or a man? Or just 2025 or 2024, whatever the kids say these days. Mark Hamill. Age. Career. Where is this? Mark Hamill's wife is Marleo York? Dental hygienist? Really? Huh. I guess, really. I guess he isn't technically gay. Interesting, Mark. He does have that gay shirt. Literally. It's not being pejorative. It says "Gay for Biden." Yeah, remember when the news was trying to do that for Cuomo? When he's killing all the old people? By putting them in nursing homes for the pandemic? Now, they did get 1.5 thousand likes. Let's see here. Joey Franco says, "Made the inflation get better after Biden is gone." And his picture that shows all the inflation statistics under Trump versus Biden. You got energy up 38.8%, gasoline up 47.8%, electricity up 29.3%, natural gas up 26.9%, eggs up 49.3%, groceries up 21.1%, transportation up 32%, airfare up 32%, public transportation up 22%, used cars up to 20.9%. That infographic got 194 likes, which, yeah, another reason to watch the show on the camera, or on the YouTube, or more accurate, or better yet, the Rumble. You could see most of these graphics all in the whole completion. See, yeah, Dennis and Barb saying "two icons, two defenders of democracy." Finally, another contrarian statement. They're getting ratioed, obviously, but who's this? Dennis and Barb. Oh, of course. Describes herself as Bay Area native roaming the state looking for the perfect bowl of ramen. Proudly a Democrat, but open to good ideas for everyone. No DMs. USA flag. What is it? Rainbow Ukrainian flag, and I forget what the orange square is for. Going to 2020, and appears to be a real person. Keeps repost, or doesn't just repost like free gift cards and random stuff, but actually posts real things. Interesting. So it looks like more and more will do. Angela Bell Kimano says, quote, "I speak for all when I say that this is I speak for all when I say this is way better than seeing Trump with Kid Rock." I mean, I don't see it as better. Who's this? Angela Belcaramo describes herself as a bold lib. Unboxable? I mean, she looks pretty weak, physically speaking. I'm not surprised she can't box. Kidding. I know she's probably using a word pun or a metaphor. She says, "Opinions are my own." She has 200,000 followers. She is very much against Trump. As youth might say, Trump derangement syndrome. What? This has to be, what is it? Not a bot. It has to be a psyop. One of her AI pictures that she likes, or she posted, is a picture of Biden holding a lightsaber, which I don't think he could hold a toilet paper tube at this point. Let's see here. Alpha Fox also says, "Oh look, two irrelevant actors getting 313 likes." Let's see. Planet Memes responds in meme form. Another win. They, I mean, when I first started the show, it was almost like a 50-50 shot if it was just text versus also a meme. It says, idiots these twos are. And Yoda saying moron Mark Hamill is. Getting 714 likes. Here. D-Mac also says, great job, Joe. And his Uncle Sam replaced it with Biden's face and says, I want you to pay more taxes. Other countries are depending on it. Unquote, getting 445 likes. Well, also a little fact check. You also have illegal immigrants counting out of that as well. So, I mean, again, there are people who love Biden and love Mark Hamill. This might get Biden a couple more votes this year. I mean, it is interesting to see every time Biden posts on social media, he's just visually ratioed. Now, granted, maybe it just means people are who have, I know there's a lot of trolling on the internet, but maybe there's just more negativity and positivity overall, and they seek it out, so they go after him. But we don't see that with other political figures, interestingly enough. And this is one of the worst ratios I've ever seen in terms of negative comments, just overwhelming the positive ones. But let me know, do you think, and again, Mark Hamill's a raging leftist. I mean, I'm sure he's actually not doing this for a paycheck. He's probably doing it just because he legitimately is someone who loves Democrat policies and thinks they're great. But I can't but think, well, he's also doesn't have to worry about, selling any more tickets to Corvette Summer. So let me know, do you think this is a good move? I mean, I think it helps Biden more than it hurts him. Again, there are people who love Star Wars, but for Mark Hamill, he's kind of dug his own grave throughout the past couple of years in terms of social media and, choosing a side and alienating prospective clients. He's also probably close to retiring. But let me know. As always, I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Kamala Harris responding to the Hamas ceasefire proposition, and her response is shrimp and grits, unquote. Which I'm not too surprised given her level of intellect. Now, this comes with thanks to Benny Johnson on X Twitter. Benny says, quote, Q, Madam Vice President, Hamas says it accepted a ceasefire deal. Your reaction? And she says, shrimp and grits, which I guess we should just be, at this point, in terms of White House competency, perhaps we should just be grateful there's someone there that can speak full sentences. Now, let's go ahead and we'll play this. Now, interestingly enough, maybe we should just be happy those, her private security or the Secret Service by her isn't, fumbling over and fighting each other like they were earlier this month. Did you hear it?
Madam Vice President, Hamas says it accepted
Also wearing a suit. I don't want to say it's F- for fashion, but yeah.
a ceasefire deal. Hamas says accepted a ceasefire deal. Your reaction?
What are your thoughts on Hamas accepting a ceasefire deal?
Madam Vice President, Hamas says it accepted
If you're watching this, I think she has a lot of women on her Secret Service force. Person right behind her, right there. What are the odds that's a woman or a man? Hard to say. I would get. Oh, can't tell if it's a boy or a woman. Oh, I see earrings. Granted, these days that doesn't mean much. I know. I'm gonna guess. I gotta put money down. Oh, I want to say it's a woman. Although these days, depending on who you ask, sometimes you have to ask them, "What is a woman?" Hashtag Matt Walsh in that documentary. Yeah. Usual mental vacuous statements, ignoring the questions. And went pretty popular, got 128,000 views and 1.5 thousand likes. Now, some of the top comments comes from Paul Zupa saying, quote, Kamala Harris is a bombastic idiot. She's also heartless. She jokes about food while other countries being invaded and Biden is escalating war overseas. That's what you get from a diversity hire like Kamala, getting 66 likes. So in terms of being mentally, morally vacuous, again, marijuana policy and drug policy, another time, another place. Maybe we'll debate it sometime in the show. But regardless, the law in California was, if you smoke weed, you get arrested because, again, it's federally illegal. And Kamala Harris was known for sending thousands of men to prison because they had marijuana charges. She's later on a podcast where someone asked her about that, and they found out like she herself was using marijuana, and she simply laughed using her iconic evil Joker laugh. When asked for comment about hypocrisy of her consuming the devil's lettuce, yet throwing people in jail because of it, she chose an awkward laugh as a response. That's who's the VP. Now, one of the other top comments comes from here. Gorilla the Gorilla saying, quote, Rand Paul, quote, the amount of money going to Ukraine in this bill is more than we spend on the entire Marine Corps, unquote. That's insane and not great. I got 37 likes. Let's see. Bro the Gorilla has done 3 comments in a row. We're trying to find more. One Bad Dude simply says, worst VP ever, getting 27 likes. Let's see. Kevin Leponte says, quote, when you're stoned and get hungry, getting 2 likes. Let's see. USMC Lady Vest says, thanks, Kamala. I see you're really on top of things on getting 12 likes. Remember when Biden said he's going to put Kamala in charge of securing the border? Yeah, how's that going? Now, Common Sense Custodian says, quote, she is living her good life. She could care less about world problems. Quote, getting 7 likes. Yeah, Ryan Hugebrink said, quote, any updates on Kamala heading up the protection of our country from dangers of AI? No, just stripping grits. Sounds about right. Getting 7 likes. Oh yeah, she's also in charge of that. Someone who probably cannot even use, someone who could debatably spell the word computer is in charge of AI and regulation of it. I don't want to say we're screwed, but we're in some trouble. See if there's any. Give me 3 steps says how appropriately fake DEI of her getting 5 likes. Lado Bitnar says she's a faking 4 likes. Here. I mean, there's gotta be. Usually, there's some people supporting her. I mean, I don't see them in the comments, but yeah, the Biden administration is in a pickle. She's one of the most unliked VPs ever. She's so unelectable that she didn't even win the primary in California. She dropped out before she could even get that far, I believe, for 2020. So she's exceedingly unpopular. And again, I think she's more of a liability than an asset when it comes to the re-electability of Biden-Harris campaign. You also can't get rid of her because, again, she checks a lot of the marks that they're looking for, and they'll be lambasted by their own party if they were to do so. So they're in a tight spot. And again, I don't see her getting smarter overnight or more intelligent or more emotional intelligence or just book intelligence over smart or even street smarts overnight. So I don't see the perception of her increasing, the public perception of her, and I don't see her actually doing a good job anytime soon. She might very well surprise all tomorrow and say, hey, I just fixed the U.S. border where it's all, as youth might say, tight, as in you can't get through. I mean, probably not, but as always, let me know what you think. I'd be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now going over to the business blunder of the day, you have the iconic Planters peanut being recalled. Now this is brought to us thanks to NBC News. Looks like the Mr. Peanut, his monocle perhaps is a little cracked when it comes to quality assurance inspection. Now NBC News says, quote, Planters nut recalled due to potential for listeria contamination. They note, quote, some honey roasted peanuts and mixed nuts may contain the tainted germ, which may cause serious, sometimes fatal, infectious in certain people. That's not great. Now they note that Hormel Foods is recalling 2 types of planter nuts due to the potential for contamination with its germ listeria. The manufacturer announced the recall affects certain Planters honey roasted peanuts and Planters mixed nut ships to Publix supermarket warehouses in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, and North Carolina, as well as to Dollar Tree warehouses in South Carolina and Georgia. The silver lining here is that there have been no, quote, there have been no reports of illness, and the products are, quote, are being recalled out of an abundance of caution, but people should be, because they could be contained with listeria, which can cause serious, sometimes fatal infections in certain individuals, again, according to Hormel Foods. And let's see here. Here's the actual codes of the products that were affected. You note that, quote, the recall affects 4-ounce packages of Planters honey roasted peanuts and with a, quote, best if used by date of April 11th, 2025, and a package UPC code of 29000002097. It also affected 8.75-ounce cans of Planters Deluxe lightly salted mixed nuts with a best use by date of April 5th, 2026, and a UPC code of 29000001621 on the side of the can. Now they also note that no other products or package sizes are included in the recall, according to the Minnesota-based Hormel Foods. Now, of course, they say customers should discard the nuts or return them to the store where they purchased them for an exchange, which, again, I don't want to say the odds of someone actually doing that is 0, but I mean, in terms, I mean, the good news, if you're, I mean, fiscally speaking, if you're someone who's invested in the company or, employee and worried about, this might hurt your paycheck, I mean, the amount of people that are going to actually go to the store to return a can of nuts, it's got to be less than 1%. I mean, just think about how much your time is worth And you soon find that the effort of doing most, recalls and actually going to the store and exchanging the product usually isn't even worth it, even if you're there to buy additional groceries the next week or 2 weeks. Because again, you're going to stand in line, deal with someone who may not be very Johnny on the spot, as Grandpa might say. And is it really worth it to save a couple bucks? More often, I would say probably not. It's really not worth your time to do that. Now, that being said, in terms of hurting their brand, yes, absolutely a business blunder. No, thankfully, of course, no one is subsequently, no one has been hurt or too negatively impacted by this, so I guess not that bad. But still, this is one of the most iconic food properties, pretty much, I would say of all, oh yeah, I would say certainly of all time. In terms of like the top 50 iconic food products, I mean, Mr. Peanut, they are up there. That is brilliant branding, and it's withstood the test of time. Granted, some might say he's a little pompous because he has his fancy top hat and monocle and cane, but I like to think he's just a little bit classy. We could use that in modern society. But nevertheless, they did have a recall, and you have to, in some cases, you got to throw out the products that you recently paid for. It's not going to make consumers happy. You're going to damage that brand a little bit. But at the end of the day, the Plantar's Peanuts, Mr. Peanut, you are in fact the business blunder of the day. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in. Again, I'm trying to get to 4,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you could click that button, I'd really appreciate it. Especially if you click that subscribe button at Rumble, where I'm trying to grow more and more. Again, don't forget to take time to like, subscribe, and follow. Lastly, don't forget to take the time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.